prove that the prosecution wanted to make him part of the conspiracy who would falsely testify against accused number 2. That didn't succeed. And as I've said, this is a very experienced police officer. By the time, for instance, he went to the scene where Alice Mañana was shot, he had been in the police force for about 10 to 15 years. And what's disquieting about this, Alice Mañana, 12 years after a police officer had attended the scene where Alice Mañana was shot, she was able to give General Sibiya a projectile, a cartridge, and say, I've been keeping this, and she was crying, I've been keeping this all this time. No policeman asked for it, because like I say, docket was opened, nothing was done. That scene was not cordoned off, was not combed. No cartridges were picked up, no ballistic tests were conducted. Right. The other aspect which this court has to deal with is the aspect concerning the evidence of Alice Mañana. She says, after she was assaulted, this is denied by accused number 1 and 2, initially at her home, that this speech is disrespectful. This was said by accused number 2. And at the police station, she says when she went to bed, her body was aching. She had rinsed her mouth because she was bleeding from the inside of her mouth. She had a cut, apparently. And then the following day, she went to Bergsdorp Benoni Hospital, she says. And thereafter, she was given a J88 to go and present to the police and open a docket. She was attended by Constable Israel. Constable Israel falls also in the category of witnesses who made a statement under oath. And this statement was attended to by Colonel Rulofse, who interviewed then warrant officer Israel. That statement was also admitted into evidence by Mr. Mdluli. In that statement, if you read it with understanding, warrant officer Israel corroborates the evidence of Selina Mañana that she opened up 2 cases. He, Israel, speaks of a docket which was opened in respect of an attempted murder against Alice Mañana, and confirms that, yeah, this one, I can confirm that it was opened in my presence, or I'm aware of it. Then Israel also himself speaks about an assault docket, which was opened at that police station, and wherein the suspects are said to be policemen. He, Israel, in that statement says, you know what, I can't remember being appointed an investigating officer in the assault case. Yes, he's right, because even before he could investigate the assault charge. Captain Govender, who's now Colonel Govender, called him and said, hey, you're a constable, you can't investigate an officer, a senior police officer to you. Bring that docket to me. And he complied. Now, that is confirmation that there were 2 dockets opened by Alice Mañana. One, assault, the other, attempted murder. Captain Govender or Colonel Govender was called by this court. His evidence was a disappointment. He can't deny, he can't confirm whether in fact he received such a docket. But he says, well, if the circumstances are sketched as they are by Constable Israel, that is standing order directives that a junior officer cannot investigate a senior police officer. There are only 2 things this court must also consider. Is it possible that Israel is telling a lie, is committed perjury by implicating a senior officer like a colonel and saying, he called me on the phone and said I must bring that docket. A junior officer committing perjury is very unlikely. In fact, I find that is improbable. It's not a case where Warrant Officer Israel says, I only remember 1 docket, the attempted murder. The assault, I don't know anything about, and that's the end of it. He gives an explanation subsequently. And the colonel was called here to comment on that explanation. He doesn't deny it. He says, at the worst, his high watermark of the evidence is, I can't recall it. I can't recall it because I didn't record it. But in this case, there's a cacophony of not recording things. It's not surprising after this court has listened to the evidence. De Goede alleges that he found 2 dockets, covers, whatever he calls them, and statements. They were not registered. The cases were not registered. They had no case number. The case relating to the attempted murder on Upa Ramkhibe, where Ndlomo was the investigating officer, was also not properly investigated. It was closed, opened, and finally closed, and categorized as undetected. The same applies to the case of the murder of Upa Ramkhibe. Colonel Duplessis investigates. And then what does he do? He doesn't take the docket to the Director of Prosecution in order to make a decision there. On 12 years he sits with the docket. And then what does he write? Undetected. It gives reasons that he didn't want a prejudicial comment from the inspection that this docket has not been attended to. So what does he do? Closes it, undetected. He doesn't even tell Colonel Rudolph to say, hey, you know what, I've got copies of some remnants of some docket which you are now investigating. Yeah, he just keeps quiet. So this court having regard to the history of the evidence relating to these two police stations, Dawn Park and Vosloorus. It's not surprising. Why it's not surprising also? Alice Manana's evidence is, after opening the assault docket, Israel said, I'll give you the case number. You must contact me, I'll give you the case number. 3-4 days he returns. Case number, nix. He's not given a case number. He opens the attempted murder docket after lying in hospital for 3 months. When he comes back to request the case number, the attitude of Israel has changed. He's no longer the same friendly man, but Topili, police officer. He's stoic, abrupt, and he's not given a case number. No progress about the report on how the investigation is going. Ultimately, the docket is closed as undetected, and Alice says, after that he decides, well, one cannot trust the police. The same attitude is expressed, for instance, by Lerato rather. He also made statements. He wasn't kept abreast of the investigation. Lina made a statement. He actually had to go to the ICD, or Lerato also. They went to the ICD to go and complain. Justina Ramokhibe made a statement concerning the rape. No investigation, nothing. So that is the pattern in these two police stations, because of the evidence I have listened to. So, Alice Manana, in essence, insists that what she testified to here is what she experienced, objectively experienced. It's not what somebody else told her. She lived it. And further, she states that she was assaulted at her home. She was taken against her will by accused number 1. And number 2, because she was preparing supper, her daughter was standing next to her there. She wanted to make arrangements for her to say to accused 1 and 2, can I please make arrangements? She was abruptly told, we don't have time for you. Obviously, at that stage, accused number 2, being an educated man, a senior police officer, knew that Alice Manana was a witness to the marriage of Tsiri Ramokhibe, Tsiri Buthelezi, and Opa Ramokhibe, because he had the copy of the certificate. Even me, being half blind, I read it. I can see that Manana is a witness, and there is also another witness who didn't sign clearly. It's a Ramokhibe. If you struggle to pour over that, the surname there, it's R. Ramokhibe. It's a signature. So this court's finding can take judicial notice of the fact that when General Mdluli came with Colonel Mtunzi, General Mdluli knew that this Alice Manana is a ferrayer, is a traitor. He organized the marriage of Tsiri Buthelezi and Opa Ramokhibe. That's why he was swift, sharp, and abrupt with her. And this court can find that she went against her will. Concerning the fact that they actually went to Sarah, it was never disputed when she testified, Alice, that she met Tsidi Buthelezi on the morning at the station, and that she and Tsidi Buthelezi had to wait for Sarah Ramokhele because Sarah is the person who knew the venue of the Stokvel, and they all went together. It's not even disputed that Sarah attended that party on the last Saturday of August 1998. It's not disputed. What is disputed is you were not at the Florina Lepeche's house. You never went there. On the probabilities, her version to a large extent is corroborated by Alice. Alice says, I did not know the venue. That's why I enlisted the help of Sarah to go and show us the venue, the extensions, as she calls them. Alice says, when I was at the party, I got an urgent phone call requiring my attention immediately. I had to leave. That was not disputed. And she says, I couldn't wait until the completion of the party, so I left. I am not the one who gave, Alice says, I'm not the one who gave Tsidi Buthelezi a lift. I said, when I requested Sarah Ramokhele to give Tsidi a lift, that please drop Tsidi where she says you must drop her. Because Alice Mañana knew that Tsidi Buthelezi is no longer living at the house which has been brought to her by General Mdluli. She knew it. Inferential reasoning tells you that, where she lives. Because if it was so that Tsidi was not going to be dropped where Tsidi says, drop me. I mean, Sarah Ramokhele says, I attended a Stokvel at the house of Tsidi, which was bought for her by General Mdluli. And General Mdluli came there, didn't greet us. I was together with Alice Mañana. Alice Mañana also says, it was very funny, he didn't greet us. So there was no need for Alice to leave such specific. And when it transpired that they are there, Alice says they were led by Sarah. And Sarah says, I was there, I led them. I was also taken against my will. I was told, you have to go and show us where you dropped. Because General Mdluli and Colonel Mthunzi were told by Alice that the person who can show you where Tsidi was dropped is my sister. Why would, on the probabilities, if that was not so, why would Alice Mañana involve Sarah Ramokhele in the solution of the problems of her best friend? When she, Alice Mañana, knows that Tsidi Buthelezi was kukuddling General Mdluli. Why? Why involve Sarah? There's no reason. According to the submission by Mr. Mutlaung, this was because the state wanted the plot to be thickened. That's why Sarah had to be invented. What for? According to Mr. Mutlaung's submission, Sarah was not there. You just invent him to say she was there so that you thicken the plot. It doesn't help the state to do that. I mean, it doesn't. Because it is common cause that Opa and Tsidi were found at Florina Lepeche's house. So why thicken the broth? There's no reason. And Sarah's evidence has got the ring of truth. How can he foresee that if he's lying? Let's put it inversely. He's lying that he crawled out of the car and hid next to a shrub, a creepy crawly, a thorny, bushy tree, a domfeye, as she calls it. Why should he invent that? With the hope that, you know what, when they come and gather evidence, they will find that there was a tree which was planted here and which was subsequently rooted out and planted in the back of the property. That's the odds. She must foresee that. Because otherwise, if there's no tree there, then her story becomes terribly suspicious. And here comes this old lady. She must also be part of the conspiracy. I mean, she's half incoherent, uneducated. She was told what to say. The court concedes that. But what she wasn't told to say is, my husband had planted a tree, and my husband had cut off that tree, uprooted it after cutting it off because it was pricking our grandchildren, and planted it at the back. That evidence, she wasn't told by anybody, and this court accepts it as the truth. This old lady has got nothing to gain, nothing, to be involved in Monty Python conspiracies. She's got nothing. She's a simple lady, leading a simple life, uneducated. How can she be made to be part of the conspiracy? Consequently, this court has got sufficient corroborative evidence through the old lady in respect of Sarah's evidence that this was so. It was put to Sarah that if she was in the car, seated there, she would have been seen. But this was an unusual situation where you have four, according to Alina, where you have four able-bodied men armed who visit an address pointed out either by Sarah or Alice. Let's even start there. Sarah contradicts Alice. He says, no, I didn't see any firearms. Now, if these witnesses are told a story, a version, why should they differ so critically? She says, you know what? Angbonanga is bam. I didn't see any firearms. Celine, Alice says, Mdluli had a long gun facing the ground, and he was directing the military rehearsed drill, how to approach that house. Now, if people are forsworn to tell a concocted, fabricated version, why could they differ so radically? But this is how witnesses are, according to Judge Nicholas. They differ, and the observation of witnesses differ. You get two witnesses at the same time looking at the same accident. You ask them what happened. Looking at the same accident. And also, just to jump about, as I'm accused of doing, you know, Alice Mañana says the doctor told her, your injuries are not so serious. Now, if she's in this conspiracy, why would she come and tell this court, the doctor said, you know, gave her some analgesics and said the injury you sustained is not so serious. I mean, if it is a version which has been coached to her, you must say, you know what, I was half dead. I'm surprised I'm still alive. She doesn't exaggerate it. She quotes a doctor who says, it's not that serious, you know. Now, this one aspect of debunking the notion that all these witnesses were told a version. Regarding the photo identity parade, the law does allow a photo identity parade. I've got decisions here. It's not conclusive. It is one of the factors one considers regarding identification. But in this case, identification is not an issue. The dramatis personae knew each other because they had encountered each other. Sophie Ramokhibe knew General Mdluli because she alleges General Mdluli came to my house. Alice Mañana is the best friend of Tsidi Buthelezi. I visited the Buthelezi Tsidi residence several times. Even sometimes Mdluli would come and find us seated there. So they know each other. Justina and Lina, they allege that one evening, General Mdluli came looking for Opa, looked at the time, 8 o'clock, and said, if you don't find him by 8 o'clock, I will find him and kill him. So all the witnesses who attended the identity parade knew the appearance and image and visage of General Mdluli, not because of the statements they made in 2011, because according to them, they saw him in the concatenation of events in 1997, 98, and 99. There's even evidence that after the funeral, he was seen driving around. I think this is Justina or whoever. So that is one factor also which adds to the veracity or the acceptance of this court of their evidence. And there's one critical issue. Here is Alice Mañana, who is termed to be a liar. This is the submission by Mr. Makaung. We mustn't trust anything she says. A liar. Here she comes. And she's asked a pertinent question by the prosecutor. She was assaulted by accused number 1, and also to an extent number 2. She described the assault. Do you see accused number 1 who assaulted you here? She looks at accused number 1, she looks at number 2, she says, I can't see him. I mean, you don't have to be Mandela's, have Mandela's wisdom. Because the question, the way it was framed in such a way that the answer logically must be, it is accused number 1. This is how it was framed. You allege that you were assaulted by accused number 1 and number 2. Yes. Do you see accused number 1 here? If this is a framed, fabricated, concocted version, the easiest answer to give, yes, I see him. And then he says, you know what? I don't, because it's after 12 years, he's changed. He's changed. His evidence, Mr. Colonel Mthunzi, is at the time the identity parade was held, I had an afro hair, like mine. Mine is still there. I had an afro hair. Today, he doesn't have afro hair. From the time this case started, at least me looking at him, he doesn't have afro hair. So, I concur and agree with Mr. Van Zyl when he says, that shows the honesty. Shows the honesty. It was easier to lie than to be honest. Yes, I see him. There he is. Okay. Concerning the evidence of Lepage Florina, she has nothing to gain from this case. She didn't want to give evidence. She didn't want to get involved. She actually wasn't even concerned when the police, the 3 or 4 policemen entered her residence on the day that Opa Ramokhibe had come with Tsidi Buthelezi. She was watching TV. She just thought, Opa must have done something. He's hiding here. He must have done something. Where is Opa Ramokhibe? There he is. Now, on the probabilities, Opa Ramokhibe has been warned several times by General Mdluli. And when I say several times, it's hearsay. He gets the reports from his partner, Lerato, who says, General Mdluli was here. He says, if he catches you, you're a dead man. He gets the report also from Lina and Justina, because when he was there, General Mdluli, according to them, he told them that if I don't get this man by 8 o'clock tomorrow, and if he doesn't divorce my wife by the end of October, I'll find him and kill him. So several reports have been made to Oupa. Even his father, in the statement made by his father, discusses this with him. Even the mother discusses this with him. So, and he has eloped, you see, he has eloped with the wife, and I keep saying the wife because that was a marriage, if you take out lobol. He has escaped to the wife of accused number 2. Elopes. He can't be found. That's why accused number 2 has to look for him and look for Tsidi also. Now, why in hell would he voluntarily go out with General Mdluli when he knows that he has wronged him? You can't tell me. Common sense tells you that. And the probabilities tell you that. Here is a man warning Oupa Ramokhiwe several times that you must leave my wife alone. And here in the middle of the night, no, he voluntarily goes out. It's so improbable that this court can reject it. That's not true. Why? He was avoiding General Mdluli. He wasn't even sleeping at his own house. He wasn't even sleeping sometimes even at the house where he's supposed to be living, at Elizabeth. I just forget the surname. Elizabeth house in Natalspruit. Elizabeth was married to a gentleman. I'll remember the surname now. This is what the evidence shows. He was sleeping. Nobody knew where he was sleeping at. Nobody knew. Even Florina Ramokhiwe says on that day, it was the first time they were coming there. Why should we reject this evidence? She's got nothing to gain. They were not living here. They came and said we are going to sleep overnight. So why would Oupa Ramokhiwe volunteer to go with General Mdluli and his cohorts? That is improbable, unlikely. The same thing obtains for Tsidi. Tsidi has cacoodled her benefactor, General Mdluli. He bought him a car, he bought him a house. I take it is also furnished. He takes her to school. He pays for lobola. And here is this lady, Tsidi Buthelezi, showing her ungratefulness of all the favors done to her by marrying a non-entity. And I'm saying again, it's not pejoratively said. It's interaction between power relations existing between men who are disempowered and who are empowered. Here, the police superintendent is empowered as opposed to a taxi driver, as they say. The power relations are obvious. That's why, for instance, General Mdluli would go to the house of Oupa Ramokhiwe, according to Lerato. Just knock and stand at the door and talk at the door. Some people will say that's disrespect, but it's a question of power relations. It's a question of power relations. Why should I get in? 4 times I come. Go. Where's Ratamokotrin? I stand at the door. I don't get in. Actually, I don't even want to quote black culture. It's inimical to black culture. We all know that, who are black and African. So, the assault itself, if this was a foretold, forsworn, fabricated, concocted version, I mean, Sophie Ramukhibe, one would expect him to say, I saw the fight. I saw accused number 2 and number 1 assaulting Tsidi, or I saw them assaulting Opa, or I saw them assaulting Lerato, or I saw them assaulting Mohau. No. You know what the old lady says? She's aggrieved, she's traumatized. I mean, she looks at her son. She says, he didn't look okay. He looked worried. And he had a blooded T-shirt. He doesn't embellish the version that the way she was assaulted, he was bleeding onto the white T-shirt. No. He says, I don't know where the blood comes from. I don't know. Now, if that is a concocted version, I don't know. The same thing pertains to the statement of Mohau. He doesn't talk about any assault. He says he saw as if he's assaulted. I saw him bleeding. So the probabilities are when Selina says he was assaulted at the police station. That has the ring of truth. You know why? Because accused number 1 and 2's defense is, we were never there, ons was nooit daar nie. But in counter-distinction, you have Lerato who says he was there. You have Alice who says he was there. You have Mohau who says he was there. You have Sophie who says he was there. Consequently, this court finds that the assault did take place at the police station. And it is corroborated by the fact that Alice went to BBH and went and opened an assault case. I, in this case, have to contend with a bare denial. Not that it is not a defense. It's a bare denial which is predicated on a defense of a conspiracy. That conspiracy in this court has not been proven. Has not been proven. The conspiracy that a fabricated, concocted, false version was fed to all the material witnesses has not been shown in this court. Even it is eschewed by Manetta and Masilela, who were the protagonists who took the statements after the conspirator plotted resuscitation of the investigating into the murder of Opa Ramukhibe. Concerning the evidence of the Khude, the state hasn't succeeded in proving the case against the Khude. That is count 12, defeating the ends of justice. The Khude says in his evidence that these dockets were not registered, or these remnants of dockets or cases were not registered. They had no case number. And he gives vital evidence that, I smelled a problem here. And he takes the docket to his director, Mashihu. Mashihu also obviously reads it and says, we must investigate. He refuses to do so. Mashihu takes these dockets. Nobody knows what happens to them. So there is a vast lacuna in the case of the state in saying that General Mdluli secreted the dockets, hid them. They may just have been copies of registered dockets. In other words, these copies were made out of a docket which was registered after the copy was made, if you understand the tautology. There could be nothing unlawful about it. But critically, we don't have sight of those dockets. Nobody knows them. There's no exhibit to show that these are the dockets. Also, the statements predicating the insight of the dockets, the Khuda said this would have been one docket, I mean, abduction and kidnapping, according to him, is one crime. Colonel Rulofs admits that the procedure he utilized in taking down the statement of the Hude over the phone, after that, types it in the computer and shows him the two statements made by, those two statements are made by Alice, I think, and Sarah, or whoever made them. And then he shows them to the Hude in order for the Hude to comment whether the evidence in those dockets is aligned with what he, the Hude, had read in the dockets, which are no longer there. Because the Hude says, I gave them to Mashikhu, and I never know what happened to them thereafter. So it was an exercise in futility. And to the credit of Colonel Rulofs, he admits that what he did is wrong. But he says it was an extraordinary case under extraordinary circumstances. And this court can understand that. But the gap in the case, in this case, relating to this charge cannot be breached. Consequently, the accused there has to get the benefit of the doubt. I've already acquitted the two accused in respect of count 7. Is that not so? Yeah. So my findings are based on the evidence I have listened to attentively over 4 years. And I want to make this point. I mean, even this judgment, in my view, this is not the type of judgment you write down, 10 pages. I mean, I could have done that, 10 pages. The type of judgment which you have to make it understandable to everybody. Even the first judgment, I dealt with it that way, and it's not like carrying favors. I say this judgment also, if I can give it to you, it's 486 pages. I can give it to you. See it. No, I just want to show you the last page. No, 497 actually. No, show Mr. McCogan and show. show it. No, the judgment is already read into here. No, that was my draft. Then I just show it, bring it back, show it to, when I say 497, hey, we're tired, Alomuntu. Oh, we're tired. Now just show it to, show it. The other one also, you know, Mr. Mdluli, was 324. Yeah, pages. Sorry, no, sorry, I'm sorry to do this. I don't have to stand up. It's open court. If you want it, you can get it. That one is typed. You can get it. So consequently, except the two charges, count 11 and count 12, sorry, the accused are found guilty as charged.
As the court is?
Okay.
As the court is?
Yes. Yes, Mr. Van Zyl, what's news?
Lord, if he pleases the court, if you could just have a word to
with our colleagues also.
Yeah, fine.
And but maybe stand down to tomorrow.
Okay.
And that we see where we are tomorrow and what should happen on tomorrow or not.
Tomorrow.
And in the meantime?
Oh, yeah.
Mother, may I approach Mr. Francis?
Yes, yes, yes. There it is, Mr. Mdluli. Have a look at it. Okay, give it to you.
Can I keep it, my lord?
Yeah, yeah, you can take it. Just tie it, man.
Thanks. This is the section 174.
That's it. Just see what page does it end?
It appears to be 293, but it's...
No. It's because I was working on it as I was doing.
Oh, yes.
It goes up to 300 and something. But you can get a copy if you want it. The disc is there.
Yes.
Okay.
I think there was 371 as well.
Hello?
There's a page 371.
Yeah, no, it goes up to
Okay.
Ndundu.
Yes.
So we adjourn until tomorrow.
Yes, my lord, and we do not have any objection to the accused remaining on one.
No problem. Okay, thanks. Then we adjourn until tomorrow.
Sound check.
Yeah, no. Anyway, at least we go inside. Yeah. Unlike a matter of so now our options is more. Wait to one.